So Peter Parker, still stuck way underground and being hunted by Kraven himself, is fighting for not only his very life but his family's, while his son, masquerading as his new Spider-Man, using the almost venomous black suit of this universe, potentially allies himself with one of Peter's most iconic villains in the main Marvel universe. But this is AJ here at the Hero Informer, and let's get into it. So on a random rooftop of New York, Peter's son Richard is a little bit entangled in some of Peter's problems, mainly in the fact that he is going against this new and improved Black Cat. And there's a couple reasons why this is bad. One, Richard here, as we will soon find out, is pretty young. Two, he doesn't have any sort of powers. The only abilities he has are within the suit itself. And three, Felicia Hardy, this new Black Cat here, is looking for revenge against Spider-Man for what happened against her father, leaving him permanently disabled. AKA, this entire thing is just one big understanding, as we will soon find out. But as they are here in the middle of trading blows, Richard even goes on to say, look, I think you've got the wrong guy. I don't even know who your dad was, and even if I did, I wouldn't have pushed him off of a building. But the Black Cat still thinks he's lying because obviously there's only one Spider-Man in New York, and there's this guy, even though he has a new suit and trying to masquerade as someone different, he still looks like the one and only Spider-Man. So Richard, not wanting this confrontation, does the only thing he thinks could soothe this over, revealing his own identity, which, yes, is kind of stupid, but he's still very young, being 15 and a half specifically. And with Felicia Hardy here, this Black Cat herself only being 16 and a half, they are still within the same age range, which would make for an interesting dynamic. You know, the main Peter here being within his later 20s, early 30s, whatever he is, and his Felicia being young, but his son being around her age. So potentially if his son does stay as this new Spider Hero, Spider Boy, whatever he goes on to call himself, it's going to be different from anything we have ever seen before. But while these two here go to soothe over the little issues they were having and realizing it's kind of one big misunderstanding, we move over to another set of people who are in a way worse situation, Harry and Peter. And here, while they are trapped within this universe's version of the Savage Lands, hunted by Kraven the Hunter himself, they are in a very tough pickle because not only are they, or more specifically Harry, defenseless without his suit or abilities, their identities, who their family are, where they live, the villains all know this. So Peter and Harry here aren't just fighting for their own lives and safety, but also for the ones that they love. Because as they travel miles within the Savage Land, there's only one thing on Peter's mind the entire time. As he keeps repeating to himself, Kraven knows about MJ and the kids. And even Harry himself realizes this, seeing that Peter is kinda off balance, because obviously he was more worried about his family and what he's going to do to try to get him out of this dangerous situation. But Harry Osborn makes the case, saying that Peter has to worry about and focus on here and now, because there's no point in focusing on what they're going to do after if they can't even leave the situation they are in here. Because as we will see later, Harry is really pushing for Peter to try and end this threat of Kraven and everything that he knows here within the Savage Lands, with him even saying, do you really think we're going to be able to escape and hide from these people forever? And before this line of thinking can continue forward, suddenly they are shot at, and their dinosaur, their velociraptor that they were riding on, gets instantly killed, as Kraven, perched up with a sniper, is taking shots at them. And to make matters even worse, it seems like all the weight of the dinosaur landed on Harry's leg, injuring him and making him slower than before. So now not only is Peter having to defend two people, but Harry is now dependent on him. And so as they are hidden behind a rock, as Kraven just keeps taking shot after shot at them, Peter knows it's a very dangerous situation, so he tells Harry to make a run for it. Use the jungle for cover as he, Peter, makes a distraction. And you might ask, okay, well, what can Peter even do? You know, Kraven is dozens of feet back with a sniper, and Peter doesn't have any of his normal gear or any weapons on him, so Peter does the next best thing, using himself as a distraction, out in the open, focusing on his spider sense, dodging shot after shot that Kraven shoots at him, all while Harry is able to get the cover and escape, with eventually Peter catching up. And up to this point, you know, obviously Peter does have the spider sense, but up to this point it hasn't been fully explored or even really named. Peter doesn't even think of it as a spider sense, more of just a feeling in his head, as he even goes on to say, I think I can sense when he's about to shoot at me, before he even does it. And the good thing is it works, so let's not try to overthink it. We need to keep moving. And you know, while they're here, Harry has a little bit of a realization, thinking that he's just going to slow Peter down. If the only two options now that he is hurt is both of them stay here and die, or at least Peter is able to get out, he wants to take the second option, as he says, I'm not sure I can make it. I'm just going to slow you down. You need to go without me. But of course, Peter is just not going to leave his friend Harry just behind to die, as he says, we are both getting out of here. But you know, even if they were both at perfect health, this would be a hard situation. Even more so with Harry now damaged and hurt. The odds are stacked against them, with even this third and mysterious person going on to say as much, saying that's quite doubtful that you guys are going to be able to get out of here, at least not without some help. As we see, it's Mole Man, yes, another villain and someone who was part of the Sinister Six, under the control of Kingpin within his Ultimate Universe, here now to almost help the duo escape. Because as he uses his abilities and summons some of his little minions and mole creatures, he explains that this here, the Savage Lands, which is miles under New York itself, is his domain, his refuge, his place of peace, and right now he doesn't doesn't really care for what Kraven is doing and disturbing. And with Mole Man being a villain himself and these two heroes being on the opposite ends of what they're trying to accomplish, there's only one question that Harry brings up. So why would you betray the Kingpin and help us? But it's not really that simple, because as Mole Man goes on to explain, oh, I would never dare betray the Kingpin over you two. But the Kingpin himself doesn't know what Kraven is doing here. So yes, Mole Man is technically helping the duo get past and succeed, but the situation they're in the first place is kind of out of what Kingpin even wanted. And Kraven technically is the one betraying them and going against what he was ordered to do. But even as Mole Man gives Peter and Harry this little entrance and passage for them to go swiftly through the Savage Lands and get towards the exit, we see that Mole Man isn't alone, as there is also this very mysterious version of Mysterio here in the Savage Land with all the other heroes and villains. And here we find out that Mysterio is kind of a little bit of a wild card. You know, Mysterio's allegiance seems to be in question in a lot of the things that he does. And here he doesn't intervene, you know, aiding Mole Man or Kraven. He's just an observer, just popping in and leaving whenever the time is right. And later on, when Mysterio comes back, we are going to see just how crazy of a situation it is and potentially what it could set up and mean. But while this interaction between Mole Man and Mysterio is going on, we have a different observer in the form of Kraven himself watching from afar, watching Mole Man aid Peter and Harry. But on a little bit of a lighter note, if you will, we move back over to above normal New York, where we see the two young almost predecessors, you know, this new Black Cat and Richard, you know, standing in as his current Spider-Man, while Peter is off dealing with, you know, barely making it out with his very life. But here, instead of fighting, they go to clear the situation up talking, using words, as they actually try to hear each other out about what is even going on, with Felicia going on to explain that, yeah, the situation she is now, you know, her seeking revenge for her father, none of this is what she wanted. She has been just thrust into this position she is in now, with her father out of commission. Instead of him losing the territory and section of New York that Kingpin has given him, he instead enlisted his daughter Felicia, who he has been secretly training for years, to essentially take on the family business and crime. But Felicia herself, she isn't a villain or supervillain in any case. She's just trying to do the best she can with the situation she has been dealt. But with her giving her story, she then flips it on the Richard, saying, so my dad's a supervillain, what does yours do? And of course, he can't just go on and tell her that, oh yeah, my dad, Peter, yeah, he's Spider-Man, this new vigilante that everyone's trying to kill and capture. So he goes on to try to say the next best thing, with him saying, I'd love to tell you, but I am a superhero. That means I'm supposed to protect the identities of people close to me, which kind of does the opposite effect of what he was trying to do, as Felicia then goes on to say, well, now I'm really curious. Meaning if she keeps prying into his life, potentially more people can know who really is Peter, his family, and that he's his new hero on the scene, Spider-Man. And speaking of Peter, we move back down below with him and Harry, ever so closer to getting out of this entire hellhole and situation that they're in now. With them now having a little bit extra time due to taking the shortcut by Mole Man, they decide to set a trap, using the explosive collars that were put on them before to rig an explosive tripwire. But Harry even notes that yes, this probably won't kill him, but at the very least it will slow him down. And so as they continue to make it on their journey, they can literally see the end in sight, you know, the cave, the stairs to go up and back into New York above, with Peter even saying, well, we're close, we could finally be out of here very soon. But Harry, as I alluded to before, has different plans, as he says, I still say we should stay and fight this guy, put an end to the problem, cut it off from the source. You know, because even if they do escape, Kraven knows exactly who they are, where they live, who they're connected to, so why would you just give the bad guy more time to prep and plan and create an even bigger catastrophe than the one they're in now? So Harry wants to take on Kraven right here and essentially kill him before he can do even more damage in what he knows, with Peter still disagreeing with him, saying, MJ, the kids, Gwen too, they're just out there unprotected. No idea what might be even coming for them. We have to warn them. But as we find out that about 95% of that is true. You know, MJ, the kids, they are unprotected, but not Gwen Stacy, not the person married to Harry Osborn. Because as Harry even goes on to say, Gwen's not in danger, or at least probably not. Because of them being high-profile individuals, you know, the leaders of Oscorp and very wealthy, it turns out that Gwen and Harry have something called danger liability, which essentially means if something happens to either of them, not only does this liability or insurance company, whatever that may look like, try to resolve it, but the other person, being Gwen in this case, gets an extreme level of security, but not known. It's almost like an invisible force protecting you and guiding you to make sure you're not in any danger. And all this was crafted and created by Otto Octavius, who also works for Oscorp in this universe. And the worst part about this is, Otto Octavius would have done the same thing for Peter and his family if he would have known who Peter was, his secret identity. But Peter didn't enlist him in that information or tell him because, well, he didn't trust him. And after hearing all of this and how technically Gwen is safe as can be, with Peter and his family still, you know, in danger, this kind of does the opposite of what Harry wanted. This just pushes Peter even further to getting out of here so he can make sure his own family is safe and protected, because Harry and his are taken care of. And right as they are about to cross the threshold, finally get out of this entire situation, of course more problems and adversity has to occur as Spider-Man's spider sense instantly starts to go off, as bullets ring the air as Kraven the Hunter with a ginormous minigun comes barreling through, shooting at the two trying to take them out. And so again, with them having very limited options, Peter tells Harry to run while he, being Spider-Man and this very powerhouse of an individual, goes on to take Kraven alone, dodging his very rapid machine gun fire until Kraven is out. And Peter isn't just going to run head to head in a one-on-one confrontation just yet. No, they have a plan, because as Peter runs and leads Kraven out of the little thick jungle they are in, leaving Kraven in a very specific and vulnerable position, Harry comes up from behind, throwing a rock and setting off the trap from before, blowing Kraven up. And in the aftermath, we can see, yes, he isn't dead or anything, but he is very hurt, something that even Kraven himself is surprised by, because as he goes on to say while spewing up blood, "It's been some time since I've truly been tested. That explosion, that was a good trap, but it wasn't enough. And I can tell you to have never truly hunted before, because have you ever heard the saying, there is nothing more dangerous than a wounded animal?" As finally now he has had enough and starts to engage Peter in a one-on-one. In which instantly we can see that this isn't like the Spider-Man 2 video game when Kraven physically was a powerhouse able to take Spider-Man and Venom on one by one. No, this Kraven just seemingly gets destroyed almost instantly. And Peter here, he just isn't playing around, because exactly what Kraven just said, there is nothing more dangerous than a wounded animal. And so with Spider-Man here not only being physically wounded and tired, but his family's life being in the balance, he is as determined and dangerous as ever, as he just continues to beat on Kraven, telling him that the hunt is over. As Kraven is almost going out pathetically, scrambling around to try and find his gun to, shoot at him, but Peter, being faster, instantly grabs it and breaks it with his own two hands, saying, "Did you really think you can kill someone like me with a gun? You hurt us, you bled us, you learned everything you could about us, but you didn't really comprehend what you were hunting, did you?" As he now has Kraven on the floor pinned, wailing on him punch after punch, telling him that no one goes after his family, no one. And this is exactly what Harry wants. Harry wants Peter to take care of this Kraven problem permanently. If they kill Kraven here, he can't come back later being more prepared to take them out. But as Peter still has Kraven pinned, getting ready for the final strike, he suddenly has a change of heart. And he doesn't, with him going on to say, "No, I am not like him. We are not him. He's going to forget everything he knows and leave our city and never return." Peter saying this threateningly to Kraven because, he just pretty decisively just beat him here. But Harry, at least thinking a little bit more logically, goes on to say, "What are you even talking about, Peter? He is a killer. That's what he does. And he won't stop until he wins. It's him or us." And here is the very pivotal moment throughout this entire comic so far. Because as they are arguing at whether they need to kill Kraven here, suddenly Kraven has a second wind, picking up a weapon, aiming it at Peter, and firing. And every instance before with Peter and a gun, his spider sense has gone off and warned him. But here it seems things are a little bit different, as soon as Kraven pulls the trigger, it connects, shooting through Peter's side as blood gushes everywhere. Peter himself even being very confused about what is going on, with him saying, "I didn't feel any danger, why didn't my spider sense go off?" But as it turns out, it's because Kraven wasn't aiming for him, Peter was just in the way. As he turns around and devastatingly sees that Harry was his real target. His body on the floor, him seemingly dead after being shot point blank in the head. From Peter's perspective, in all intents and purposes, Kraven just murdered Harry. And this alone most likely would have set Peter off. But what Kraven says next does not make it any better, with him saying, "You should have listened to your friend. He was right. I will never stop. The hunt never ends." And now Peter, just in a moment of pure blinding rage, he goes on to continue to beat Kraven, punching him to a bloody pulp. And once more, before he can fully finish the job and bring his fist down, he is stopped again, this time by someone out of left field. It is Mysterio finally making its return. And remember what I said before, how Mysterio doesn't really like to intervene, just mainly observe? Well, here Mysterio has different plans, because as Mysterio goes on to stop and tell Peter, "Normally we would be enemies, but in this moment that is not the case, because I am more interested in him, Kraven, than you, for I have certain plans. But should Kraven die here, should you choose to continue beating him to death, then Kraven's end would bring his full attention onto Peter." As Mysterio continues saying, like your friend Harry said, he is a killer and that's what killers do. So you have to wonder, if he is so good at it, what makes you think your loved ones are safe? How do you know he hasn't already sent someone to visit them? Honestly, what makes you think they were even still alive at all? And now with Peter fully giving his attention to Mysterio, he asks this mysterious villain, what do they know? But Mysterio just goes on to further manipulate Peter, saying, "Me personally, I have no idea. But I think you should run home now, Peter Parker. You couldn't save your friend, but perhaps you can still save them, your family." And this entire interaction is kind of mind-boggling once you realize what Mysterio even does. He's the master of illusions, meaning who knows if what even conspired here is real or not. Harry seemingly died right here, but is that truly the case? Kraven on his last breath being beaten to death, or maybe he is still miles away and perfectly in good health. I don't know, but what I do know is nothing here with Mysterio in the balance can be taken at face value. Regardless though, Peter is able to finally make it out, finally make it back home to his loving family as he busts through his door, finally meeting MJ for the first time in weeks, in almost a month. Him still bleeding and very hurt from the gunshot wound and everything that has just taken place. And of course, MJ almost breaking down herself, finally seeing her husband Peter back after who knows how long and what could have happened. And things take a turn for the worse as he reveals to MJ that Harry is dead, he is gone. Not only that, but the villains, the Sinister Six, Kingpin's little posse, they know who they really are. They know about MJ, they know about the kids, our names, where we live, they know everything. Meaning nothing here, their little home in New York, their jobs that they have, nothing is safe. So there is really only one other option, with MJ even going on to ask as much, saying, Peter, what are we going to do? And Peter only has two simple words: we run. Leave everything they have ever known behind, because when you're dealing with someone as powerful as Kingpin and his resources, of course with him being directly tied to the Maker and his return, almost nothing and nowhere are fully safe. But that is something that we're going to fully find out what happens and how this all turns out in the next issue as this video and issue comes to a close. If you have enjoyed, leave a like, or subscribe if you're new and want to see more content just like this. Leave all your thoughts about this latest issue of Ultimate Spider-Man down below, and as always, this was the Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.